Hello everyone, I am Subjit Roy welcoming you to Poja for Industry Development debate on smart lighting for smart cities powered by Panasonic Light Solutions India. I'm glad to welcome our distinguished panelists for the day. Pleased to join by Mr. S.P. Garnaik, who is the Executive Director, Business Unit Head Lighting at Energy Efficiency Services Limited, that's called EESL. Welcome, Mr. Garnaik. Then we have architect Survi Jindal, founder, CEO and principal architect at Daylight Hub. And we are also joined by Mr. Sachin Rana, who is the head smart cities and infrastructure business at Panasonic Life Solutions India. So to start with, we invite Mr. S.P. Garnaik. So Mr. Garnaik is presently working as business unit head lighting with Energy Efficiency Services Limited, that is EESL. I would request Mr. Garnaik to set the tone of the session by sharing his presentation on smart lighting and energy efficiency.
Today's discussion is about the next generation street lights. So that we have achieved, we saw the technology is fine. Within a 5 to 7 years of project period, if you just see the failure rates are somewhere 1% per month. So that means within 84 months, 7 years project period, we can say that the entire fleet of the street lights will get replaced only after 7 to 8 years. So that looks fine from its burning hours point of view. But where we go from here? So there are two options which are coming to my mind is that we continue with what we are doing, only just accelerate the things to take it forward. So that means we simply widen the program, deepen the program by adding more municipalities, or widen the program by going into the rural sector, maybe villages or the gram panchayats and so on and so forth. Recently, we submitted a vision document to Ministry of Power also to see in the next 5 years how this program looks like, and we could see that about 7 to 7.5 crores of further new installation can be possible in the municipalities or the smart cities, new cities which are coming up, and also taking to the rural level. But there, thank Mojo for Industry for organizing this today, because we did a consultation recently how this program can be evaluated by putting more and more cross-cutting services or technologies into the place. We'll be very happy to take it forward. The point here is that now we have not gone into the way the street lighting service as a service it should be by bringing more and more controls, sensors, which can actually give a multifaceted service to various individuals. Now we are our service now is limited to providing lights. That's the illumination. And the illumination is giving to the public, and the beneficiary here is the electricity distribution companies, because they reduce their load, peak load, or the municipalities, they reduce their energy cost. But there may be because these are assets, and these are assets are put under they are resting on with the poles, they are resting with the other infrastructures. So how that kind of things can be utilized by coming forward with the solutions like giving the information of weather, giving the information on the by putting these surveillance cameras, or giving any kind of indication. Even the electricity distribution parameters can also be provided by certain kind of infrastructures that have been put so far. 1.21 crores already we have installed, and there may be the other states. The people have gone without ESL also. And another 7 crores if you are targeting to the next 4 to 5 years, you can say within by 24-25 we will be having almost 10 crores of LED street lights as a fleet. Whether ESL has not done anything on the value addition services point of view. Yes, we did this. We installed the centralized control monitoring system. We call it CCMS. It is a group control actually, where 40 to 50 lights are connected, and it only takes care of switching on and switching off depending upon the timing or arrangements there. Apart from that, also it captures a lot of electrical parameters, and that CCMS control also gave us the opportunity to put the lighting operations, these operations, and that put it in a dashboard. You must have seen the ESL dashboard. It is in the public domain. People can go and see it. So that actually gives how many lights are on, how many are off, and what is the the uptime, because we also give a uptime assurance to the municipalities that it should be more than 95%, and nobody is going one by one just to check it. So this CCMS gave us the information scientifically with the acquisition of the data, proper data, to do this, but that is there. So this is actually it's an interface between ESL and the municipality, just to ensure that what is our service level agreements or the terms and conditions of the service level agreements are put it or not. That let me just highlight with you honestly that we are facing problems here also. So problems in the sense that the CCMS, the technology is well proven, but there are many other areas I'm not going to discuss in detail. There is a requirement of infrastructure development while putting this CCMS. You need phase wire connections and all these things, which the municipality has to provide, number one. Number two, the CCMS has got also its, because finally it will have to be, the data transfer has to come with a cloud-based mechanism or the Internet of Things. So in that case, you have to have that communication systems and all these things possible have to be in place. And also, it also comes as a module, in a box or a module kind of thing. But then there should be a compatibility of the service provider. If something goes wrong, what I mean to say, the after installation services, we are not getting that kind of satisfaction the way it should have been. So a lot of works to be done. Although in terms of smart lighting point of view, we are into the CCMS, but it is not yet foolproof as far as ESL's programs are concerned. And we want to develop, we want to see from the manufacturers, from the technology providers, how this particular thing can be streamlined. Next one is that the other value-added service, as I told you, to capture the data for the police department, for the environment department, for any other things by putting sensors, cameras, and all these things in the smart lighting poles and all these things. That needs to be done, but the point here is that the business model, who is actually going to put money here and how he's getting paid back. So let me just in this forum to tell you here that ESL would be very happy to get in touch with any of the service providers, I mean technology providers, so that we can have a pilot project in any of the smart cities. That discussion we can initiate immediately, and so that we can take it forward just to see what are the feasibilities, technical feasibilities, financial feasibilities, implementation feasibilities, and so on and so forth. And but I'm very optimistic that these are very my market is very wide open, and ESL, while going forward, we can call it as a phase 2 of our intervention that will not only look only for the widening or deepening of the SLNP program, but as far as smart meters, smart cities are concerned, definitely these value-added services is going to play a major role in the coming year. So it will not only increase the value-added services or provide the value-added services to the fellow citizens, but also it will create a new business stream, a revenue stream for the investors, for the ESCOs or the companies like ESL here to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Garnagis. It was really wonderful hearing from you, especially you made to set the tone of the session. Now in this Mojo for Industry Development debate on smart lighting for smart cities, powered by Panasonic Light Solutions India, I would like to welcome architect Survi Jindal. Architect Survi is the founder, CEO, and principal architect of the multifaceted practice, The Light Hub. She's going to share her expert opinion on lighting designing consideration for smart cities. Welcome, Survi.
So when we talk about smart cities, typical tools for smart cities are sensors, interfaces, light, sound, temperature, etc. But if we really think about the performance of these cities, we really need to think and focus on the citizens and the users of these cities, right? And because lighting is primarily intended for people, urban illumination should be focused on the human experience with a qualitative social engaging role. We as designers focus on how smart creative lighting solutions can actually enhance the architectural landscape in a city environment. How can they inspire a city's nightlife, promote investment in the economy, and be a tool for the urban environment, as urban illumination can really help cities create unique visual experiences that are welcoming, fun, and inspiring, both for the residents as well as the visitors, reflecting the rhythms of the city and maintaining the identity as well as the brand value of that city. The Urban Design Compendium highlights lighting as one of the 5 elements for the creation of a thriving public realm, pointing out the importance of planning illumination for pedestrians by utilizing different layers of light sources, right from street lighting to ambient lighting emitted by advertising boards. So planners need to move from here on away from a narrow concern with lighting roads to a holistic approach of illuminating places. The nighttime environment should be seen as painted by layers of light that emphasizes the city's monuments, spaces, purposely reducing illumination in less relevant surrounding areas and allowing them to function as a backdrop. So I would like to show you here in this image an example of a project in Hoogeveen, a town in the north of the Netherlands. It had actually very sleepy city center, which didn't attract anyone to shop, dine, or have a drink there. It was like a boring town center with no atmosphere. And after the redevelopment of the city, as you can see in the images as well, the projector mapping and other areas beautifully lit up. After the renovation, the city has actually entered the top 20 list of well-known municipalities in the Netherlands, and it enhances now tourism and nightlife, generating valuable income for hotels, restaurants, bars, and shops. So the city becomes a more attractive destination for people and business together. Further, when we start layer upon layer, the different lighting elements like ambient and the accent lighting in a city environment, we need to also start thinking in the dimension of time. For example, providing the best light levels to create safety or perception of safety in parks at night, which might mean dimming industrial areas that are less traveled at night, not only to only increase energy savings, but also to send a signal to the citizens that this area is not really in use during the evening hours, like what you see in the image here. Going ahead, as processors, sensors, and the analysis of data becomes cheaper and more efficient, lighting systems and solutions exist as smart and connected components of the Internet of Things, enabling digital lighting to be incorporated in more ways in open spaces, thanks to its flexible form factor and programmability. And coupled with advances in lighting technology itself, smart and responsive lighting environments are emerging, where the level, intensity, and impact of light can be carefully controlled as well as adapted to environmental cues, behaviors, or pre-programmed schedules. So looking at the potential opportunities for these systems, they could also be integrated with other city systems like the traffic management, or have the capability to gather data of the user behavior and the status of the city for the benefit of the city. Copenhagen, for example, what you see on your screens is the Green Waves project, which is one part of the scheme of the redevelopment, which is already implemented there, where traffic light systems direct cyclists to best possible routes. The number of cyclists are actually registered through the sensors embedded in the road surface, which can trigger traffic lights to switch to green when cyclists reach a certain volume, enabling a more safer, more efficient, and more enjoyable urban cycling experience. And this also enhances traffic flows intelligently using smart systems in combination with LED systems. Sensors and Internet of Things are really paving the way for intelligent solutions that can directly respond to local activities and conditions. For instance, in London Eye, the world's largest cantilevered observation wheel and a well-known global landmark, the dynamic smart lighting system changes frequently to commemorate holidays, events, and for the first time ever, it was also used to project real-time conversations, real-time visualizations, in fact, of Twitter conversations during the BBC's referendum debate. Interesting. In fact, public infrastructure should be as connected as and powerful as the tools that citizens are using on a daily basis in their business as well as private lives. Lastly, I would like to say that it's high time we move from the conception of more the light, the better, to a more granular and refined understanding of the qualities and characteristics of light, with opportunities to create lighting solutions that respond to the context, people, and locality to move beyond pure functional performance. We need to look into invest in smart lighting infrastructure that has the capability to be reprogrammed according to the future needs and developments. Incorporate non-visual impacts of light and light fixtures and raise awareness of the potential interplay between health as well as smart technology. Utilize the full potential of advancing technologies to reduce excess light and glare in response to city light levels and street hierarchies. Lastly, design lighting control systems that are actually able to respond to changing light levels and that can effectively integrate public as well as private light sources seamlessly. Thank you.
Thank you, Subit. Thank you so much for highlighting the lighting design considerations for smart cities. It was a wonderful presentation. So now I will invite Mr. Sachin Rana. Mr. Sachin is heading the smart cities and infrastructure business at Panasonic Light Solutions India. Mr. Sachin is going to talk on lighting beyond illumination. Welcome, Mr. Sachin.
Thank you so much, Subhajit-san, and thank you, Mojo for Industry, for having me today. Right from 2018 onwards, there has been a tremendous focus on the lighting, smart lighting market, and it is growing consistently, both at the indoor and the outdoor level. Asia Pacific, the expected CAGR is 19%, whereas the European market CAGR expected is 35%. It is going to grow tremendously going ahead, and we have a right kind of opportunity here. And the all the stakeholders, be it the consumers, be it the implementers, be it the lighting OEMs, everyone is kind of very excited with the huge potential which is there in front of us. Indian street lighting market, for instance, smart lighting market, for instance, is expected to grow close to 50% CAGR, 49% CAGR during the forecasted period. Since this topic is about lighting beyond illumination, there are challenges related to illumination also, but are faced beyond illumination. So the timelines, the cities do not have a real-time access to the information. They do not know what is happening with the system. It is kind of a reactive system and not a proactive system. Once a fault occurs, the cities or the operators who are operating the cities, they come to know they do not have a real-time access. So that is one challenge. So because there's no real-time access, there is an opportunity to respond faster to a given problem is lost. Completeness, there are at some times there is a missing information because the information is coming from human sources, and most of the times it may not be in the format which we desire. So definitely there is a completeness which is missing, and the information may always not be in the desirable format. The relevance of the information may or may not be applicable to a given area or to a given city. That's the third challenge which we face in a traditional system. The fourth challenge which we all face is consistency, because there is a lack of integration between the user and the maintenance team. The user has some understanding of the system, whereas the maintenance team will have a different understanding of the system. So there's a lack of integration between both of them. The fifth is the accuracy, because accuracy is also a challenge which we face in a traditional system. And the last challenge is information. The lack of information is, of course, a common challenge. So these challenges of the system exist because traditionally streetlights, they do exist in either on and off stage. So they are either on or off. This leads to a lot of wastages of energy and increased costs. Sometimes they, as the cities are over illuminated, sometimes they are under illuminated. This causes all safety and security hazards. Transportation system, which is very wide, complex, and has intricate requirements, needs these challenges to be met on nearly a real-time basis. So cities needs intelligent system to respond to these dynamic changes so that they can ensure smooth vehicular flow and safety of its people. Of course, there is a lot of talk which is happening right now on Internet of Things and the emergence of IoT. Lighting industry is equally excited like rest of the industry to participate in this emergence of IoT, and the value of integrating the data from sensors and transmitting it to the cloud for analysis is really opening up new possibilities. The era of connected lighting has also resulted in several network protocols which are designed for specific purposes. So with IoT comes multiple network protocols. So there are to define, there are basically two types, wired and wireless. In wired, we are using DALI, DMX, PAVL, PLC, which is Power Line Carrier Communications, Power over Ethernet. In wireless, we are using Zigbee, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, LoRa, so on and so forth. So there are multiple technologies which are available in the Internet of Things which we can use. Smart lighting typically comes comes for both indoor as well as outdoor lighting. In indoor lighting, the Internet of Things in commercial buildings include connecting of diverse systems, which includes, of course, lighting, HVAC, and BMS, building management systems. In outdoor, it is mostly wireless technologies which are used, because wired technologies in outdoor, barring PLC and power over Ethernet, because power line carrier communication, PLC, is something which can be used as a wired technology for outdoor smart street lighting, and power over Ethernet can also be used. However, mostly the technologies which are used for outdoor lighting is LoRa and RF Zigbee. These are the most prevalent technologies which are currently used world over. When we speak about indoor smart lighting, what does that mean? It means that there is an automatic lighting control, which is an occupancy-based lighting control. There's a daylight harvesting, energy usage and savings are happening. This of course leads to the boosting of teams' productivity. We all speak about human-centric lighting, so a right amount of lighting at a right place during the right time definitely boosts the productivity of the employees. So for indoor lighting, it is very critical that we have a proper lighting in place. Real-time building energy audit at different places from a single office can be done. So the auditor need not travel. They can do a remote audit. Of course, we can do a data-driven space planning. So with the help of software tools which are available, we can do all the data-driven planning. There is time savings and productivity improvements, as I have spoken earlier. This is the street lighting system which we at Panasonic have. We call it as Connexion. Which is an intelligent street lighting system. It is available both in group as well as individual street lighting system. These systems are network agnostic. When I say network agnostic, they can communicate over RF Zigbee, they can communicate over LoRa, they can communicate over any network. So we really do not want to specify the network. We are more happy to give a system which would be capable of communicating over any available network. So Connexion is the intelligent street lighting solution.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sachin, for your presentation on lighting beyond illumination. and you have actually highlighted some of the advanced technologies in the field of smart lighting. Now we are going to have a panel discussion on the same topic, that smart and intelligent lighting in smart cities. Mr. Rana, I'd like to start with you only. Could you list out some of the key advantages of smart and intelligent lighting that make them actually integral to smart cities? Why smart lighting?
So first and foremost, to cut the long story short, I would want to say is that smart lighting brings in that extra savings over traditional systems. Second is it helps in faster responses and turnover times, because earlier any failure in the city network would have been identified by the patrolling party, or would be identified by the city residents and then reported back through WhatsApp call or through WhatsApp or a phone call and reported back to the controlling authority. Now, with the help of these intelligent systems, we can proactively come to know that there's a fault, and the response times are faster, and we get we are able to maintain high uptimes. The third and most important factor, of course, is to have an asset management, a proper asset management, wherein we can list down our assets and we can monitor them continuously. We can have access to historical graphs. We can have access to historical data. We can do trending analysis and then possibly predict the future. So Subhajit-san, efficiency, faster turnaround time, and predictive analysis. These are the three major advantages of having a smart lighting, street lighting system.
Great. Mr. Garne, could you like to add something apart from the 3 points what Mr. Rana was talking about?
Absolutely. I agree with what Mr. Sachin said, and the extra energy saving, which will actually, impact to the electricity distribution companies to reduce their peak load, particularly in the evening period, and which is growing, day by day. That is something is there, and the reduction in the energy bills for the end users, particularly the municipalities and so that is going to happen. But my only point of contention here is that the business model. So I think that is where we are also interested to do a pilot project and see whether the payback period is coming 4 years, 5 years, or even more than that. If it is very much a high payback period, probably the technology may be very, very fantastic, very, very, encouraging. But as far as finally at the end of the day, we see the business and we see the money, value of the money. If the payback period is more than 7 years, 8 years, so then this may not be encouraging, and then we have to look for some innovative financing models. Second is whether the availability in terms of indigenous availability of the technology in India. So that is going to play a major role. So there is a push, as a policy maker side, I can say that we should look into how these solutions can be made as indigenous as possible. Because so just to put the third point to this is that we are planning to go for 1.6 crores numbers of new LED street lights in the coming 3 years.
So Surbi, from a designer's perspective, what are the challenges for smart lighting adoption?
Two biggest challenges here when you adopt smart lighting. First is the disconnected light sources and the access illumination, which is a result of too many light sources put together in the smart system. And second is the security aspect or security concern due to interconnected modules. And apart from the security issues, transforming into smart lighting system has other problems as well. So there must be a proper maintenance and verification of all the infrastructure, that all the nodes are working properly. Street lights fitted with amenities such as USB charging sockets and EV charging points must be checked at a regular interval, so to ensure that there can be no cases of current surcharge, potentially harming the devices or the user devices or even the network for that matter. Today's smart city plans include smart parks, smart spaces that to have Wi-Fi access points and charging points. So similar care and security must also be taken to ensure that there is no miscreancy to harm or harm caused to the user as all the devices are connected?
Oh, great, Survir. Thank you so much, Mr. S.P. Garnaik, Architect Survijinder, and Mr. Sachin Rana for sharing your expert opinion. It was my pleasure having you here today. We thank sponsor for this session, Panasonic Life Solutions India. So this concludes this webinar.
Please don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell icon.